2023 was a great year for movies. I saw a lot of movies that I loved that are sure to make it somewhere on my top list of all time. And let's not do a long preamble, let's just get into this. This is my list of my top 10 favorite movies of 2023. Starting off with number 10, Poor Things. Yorgos Lanthimos' latest feature is a love letter to the wonders of life. Bella Baxter, who is basically Frankenstein's monster's monster, goes on a journey of self-discovery and a discovery of the wonders of the world. Through her new childlike eyes, she learns of love, grief, empathy, friendship, heartbreak. Her youthful naivete allows her to have eternal optimism in the face of a world dominated by greed, corruption, and cynicism. It's a movie about discovering the beauty in what makes you unique and not letting a cynical world shame you from living to your fullest expression. I'm a massive fan of Yorgos Lanthimos' previous work, and to me this feels like him at his most unleashed. The painterly steampunk style is so rich and beautiful. No one is making movies that look like this at this level. I love how much of a little freak Willem Dafoe is in this movie, addicted to cocaine, burping massive bubbles because he can't regularly digest food, and creating various hybrid creatures. Mark Ruffalo is an absolute riot as the film's foppish villain, and Emma Stone is completely fearless in an impossible lead role. She plays through all of Bella's emotions expertly, from the awkward physical comedy of Bella learning to walk and dance and use her body, the childlike wonder as she first sees the world, the heartbreaking despair after first experiencing tragedy and loss, and the powerful confidence as Bella becomes her fully realized self. My number 9 movie is John Wick Chapter 4, and it's maybe the most impressive cinematic achievement of the year. The experience of watching this movie is like seeing one of the greatest action sequences ever put to screen, and then that sequence being continually topped over and over again over the course of this operatic epic. Keanu Reeves is in top form as this assassin who's been beaten down by the world, and the returning supporting cast are still a delight. And then they went and added in some of cinema's most talented action stars to populate the ensemble's newest additions. Hiroyuki Sanada gets a sword fight, Scott Adkins is in a fat suit for a fight scene that is just as funny as it is impressive, and then Donnie Yen nearly steals the whole film as Kane, a blind assassin that is quite possibly the coolest figure put on screen this decade. This movie is big, it's bold, it's relentless. I don't know how they pulled off some of the stunts depicted here without maiming or murdering dozens of real people. And through it all, it also manages to bring a somber, meditative conclusion to one of the greatest action franchises ever. It's a triumph of a movie, and I think it's past time that action filmmaking gets recognized on a more serious level. My number 8 movie is May December. Todd Haynes' latest is loosely based on a true story and depicts an actress preparing for a new role by studying a woman who decades prior groomed and assaulted a teenage boy that she is now married to. This is such a tragic story, and it's anchored by an incredible and revelatory performance by Charles Melton. He's the husband who never got to be a kid, and yet he's been emotionally stunted by the trauma he doesn't even realize he suffered from. As his own kids go off to college, he's suddenly realizing that they far surpassed him in emotional intelligence. And as his life is picked apart by Natalie Portman's visiting actress, he starts to reckon with the trauma of his past and grapple with the guilt that it might have inadvertently been passed down to his own children. It's complicated and heartbreaking, and through it all, he's still being manipulated by not only his abusive groomer wife, played at a perfect pitch by Julianne Moore, but by Natalie Portman's actress character as well. She's just as manipulative and exploitive as the character she hopes to emulate and humanize. Through this, Haynes is able to open up the film to be about not only its tragic central figure, but about the way the Hollywood system chews up and spits out its subject matters in service of so-called art. Portman, Moore, and Melton are all award-worthy in central roles, but this is a movie populated with incredible and lived-in performances from all of the supporting characters that live on the periphery of this story, like D.W. Moffat as Moore's ex-husband, or Corey Michael Smith as Moore's oldest son, who's the same age as her now husband. Every single detail about this movie feels so specific, intentional, and authentic. It's a master filmmaker like Todd Haynes at the top of his game. My number 7 movie of the year is Barbie, and I still can't believe they let Greta Gerwig get away with this. Barbie is without a doubt the most entertaining cinematic experience of the year. The performances, the dance sequences, the costumes, the set design, everything perfectly pitched to deliver a stunning visual treat. But going beyond that, this is a movie that takes some massive narrative swings. It condemns the Barbie brand for creating body image issues in generations of women. It directly pushes back on antiquated ideas of women being used as tools to prop up men or objects for men to own. It's a movie about finding value in yourself and not based on how others see you, because you are enough. And it does it all while being a hilarious over-the-top adventure. Ryan Gosling delivers one of the most iconic comedic performances of the past decade, but if you think he's a comedic revelation here, please seek out The Nice Guys. Margot Robbie should not be overlooked as the anchor that holds all of the varying tones together. It's about as perfect as a movie about Barbie could ever possibly hope to be. My number 6 movie is Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan has made a name for himself making massively impressive blockbusters that win over critics and audiences alike. But with Oppenheimer, he's almost entirely stripped away his usual excess, save for a bravura scene of the Trinity bomb testing sequence, in favor of a movie that's made up almost entirely of conversations. But these conversations carry the true life weight of the entire world. As paranoia spread across the entire world, international politicians and scientists race to create the deadliest weapon known to man, without first stopping to contemplate the consequences. And it's the burden of those actions and the repercussions of J. Robert Oppenheimer's success that haunt this movie's every frame. More memorable than the visually stunning Trinity test sequence is the haunting 1,000-yard stare that permanently haunts Cillian Murphy's eyes. And scarier than the creation of the potentially world-ending superweapon is the flippant nature of the politicians who wield it. My number 5 movie of the year is Past Lives. I think Past Lives pulled off the trickiest narrative balancing act of any film I've seen this year. How can a film make me yearn so longingly for a childhood love that can never be, while also making me deeply invested and root for the romance that actually is? And the fact that it's writer-director Celine Song's debut feature makes it all the more impressive. Past Lives is a movie about mourning the life and love we dreamed of having, while also finding peace and comfort in the life we've actually been given. Greta Lee, Teo Yoo, and John Magaro give some of my favorite performances of the year. The scene with Greta Lee and John Magaro in bed, where John talks about learning Korean so he can better understand Greta's dreams. I'm about to get misty-eyed just thinking about it. My number 4 movie of the year is The Holdovers. Alexander Payne's latest is a 70s throwback about a trio of lonely characters coming together to form their own makeshift family over a boarding school's holiday break. The script is super sharp and witty, and it's not only the year's funniest movie, but it's also the most charming. The movie just kind of scoops you up into this warm hug and never lets you go. It's an excellent reminder that we can never truly know the invisible battles that the people around us might be fighting. All 3 leads in this are great. Paul Giamatti is the perfect curmudgeon with the secretly soft heart. Divine Joy Randolph walks the perfect line of hilarious and heartbreaking, and newcomer Dominic Sessa is a true revelation. I think he has the trickiest part in the movie, having to play a teenager who is equal parts obnoxious and effortlessly rootable. This is an instant new Christmas classic, and it's certainly going in my yearly rotation. My number 3 movie of the year is Dream Scenario, which asks the question, what if strangers all over the world started having dreams about the same random guy? And what if that guy was played by Nicolas Cage? That premise alone would have probably been enough to land Dream Scenario in my top 10, even if it turned out to be a disaster. Luckily, director Christopher Borgli has made a film that somehow merges the excruciating uncomfortableness of something like Scott's Tots with an insightful and thought-provoking exploration of fame and identity. It's a great satirical takedown on our culture's current desire for fame at any cost, with little thought given to what value we are bringing to the world or what beliefs we could use that new position to platform. And if that was all Dream Scenario offered, it would still be an excellent, if cynical, satire. But there's so much more going on thematically. The way people dream about Nicolas Cage's Paul Matthews character is directly correlated to how he views himself, whether that be useless, powerful, shameful, or scary. It explores the potentially terrifying question of what if people saw you in the exact way you saw yourself. Too often we can be too hard on ourselves and project that devalued self-image onto others, leading to shame and isolation. Or if we're convinced that strangers idolize us for no inherent reason, we can become prideful and egotistical. Ultimately, Dream Scenario is a movie about learning to love ourselves and appreciating the real love of the community that we already have around us. And did I mention it stars Nicolas Cage? because it stars Nicolas Cage and we should be giving him all of the awards. My number 2 movie of the year is Anatomy of a Fall, which is about a woman on trial for the death of her husband, with the court proceedings tearing apart her marriage to determine whether her husband's death was caused by himself or if he was murdered. This movie is not just about the titular anatomy of a fall, but it's an analysis of a marriage. You can never fully know what's going on in someone else's marriage. Taking moments out of context, even with the full truth, doesn't always tell the full story. There are years, decades of intricacies and nuances that shape every moment, and this film places the audience as an observer of the court proceedings and gives us the responsibility of drawing our own conclusion. It's a movie that challenges the audience to interrogate themselves and their own lives. How can we ever know the full truth? How can we ever hope to reconcile conflicting facts? What links will we go to affirm beliefs that we have chosen to hold? It's not only a film about the construction of narrative, but about the power of language. The way language is wielded in this movie is something I've never seen before in a film. The wife character Sandra is a German native living in France, but speaking in English as a common ground. She's forced to live in a world she doesn't fully understand, using a language she isn't fully comfortable with, and forsaking the language that comes most natural to her. On a trial that puts her entire life on display, she is rarely allowed to use her voice. This film is challenging, it's beautiful, and it's got some of the absolute best performances of the year. Sandra Hüller gives a tour de force performance in the lead role, Swan Arlad is impeccable as her lawyer, and Milo Machado Graner gives an all-timer of a child performance. Even the dog won a much-deserved acting award at Cannes, and that's why Anatomy of a Fall is my number 2 movie of the year. Rounding out the list at number 1, my favorite movie of the year is Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid. Beau is Afraid tells the simple story of a neurotic man named Beau trying to get home to attend his mother's funeral on a journey that turns into a straight-up odyssey. Ari Aster takes a massive swing on this one and mixes things up from his past work that established him as a new horror auteur. Here, Aster expertly exaggerates and externalizes some very real and universal internal fears and anxieties. What if everyone really is out to get you? What if everyone you know really is gossiping about you behind your back? What if you actually aren't safe in your own home? These ideas are conveyed in moments that range from impeccably uncomfortable tension to uproarious dark comedy. One of the predominant themes of the movie is Beau's fear that if he gets too intimate with another person, if he lets someone in close enough to really see who he is, that he will die. And just that is an unfortunately universal theme for people in real life, as we want to keep our guards up so that no one can ever hurt us. But the movie pushes past that to an even scarier revelation. What if you let someone in and they die? What if all of the traumas and hardships that you've experienced in life, that you've let shape you into your current being, have actually turned you into someone else's trauma? And so ultimately, Beau is Afraid is a journey about self-discovery, about unearthing why we are the way we are, and confronting whether or not we have the strength to address our problems and neuroses and ultimately break the cycle. There are scenes in this movie that are my favorite scenes of any movie in the past several years. Seeing some of my own anxieties and neuroses play out on screen to their most extreme ends are incredibly powerful and resonant. But I also can't deny that there are scenes in this movie that I didn't really understand at all. Scenes that went on too long, that felt completely inscrutable. But I think where I've ultimately landed on that is that that's okay. Art is allowed to be messy. I don't have to understand every decision to appreciate and admire the artistry. This is a film I plan on coming back to many times in the future, where I'll undoubtedly pick up new theories, new themes, new ideas, new inspirations. I love this movie, and at the end of the day, it just didn't feel right placing any other movie at number 1. It's my favorite movie of the year. I love Beau is Afraid. And that's it. That's my list. Those were my personal favorite movies of 2023. Let me know your favorites in the comments below, and if you want to check out all of my favorites, what I thought of everything of the year, I've got a list on Letterboxd ranking every single movie I saw this year. So check that out. It's at Josh D. Floyd. And continue following me in 2024 if you want my real-time thoughts. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.